So if you know me, you know that I am a huge Tame Impala fan. I have been a fan since the first version of Borderline came out. Around that time, that is when I first fell deeply in love with Tame Impala, because I knew of Tame Impala from Rihanna covering New Person, Same Old Mistakes. And my first real album cycle with Kevin Parker was The Slow Rush, which I love that album to this day. I don't care. I am a Slow Rush defender. Of course, it's up there with Currents though, like completely. Side note, if you have not checked out my video on the making of Currents, please do that. Please, because that was a lot of work and I learned so much, which is why I wanted to make a video about Deadbeat. Deadbeat is a journey. Deadbeat is an album. So I'm not gonna lie, I initially was not gonna make a video for Deadbeat just because I feel like I needed a ton of time to kind of sit with the album, considering the fact that it is so freaking different from the past albums that we've gotten from Kevin Parker. So in my Currents video, I did talk about the fact that Kevin does tend to switch up when it comes to the focus in terms of genre in his albums, and Deadbeat is no different. I've been seeing and reading a lot of things. I think the general consensus of Kevin kind of falling off is a lot, I will say. But I'm just going to come right out and say it that on my first listen of Deadbeat, I wasn't happy. I was not happy. As soon as I cut on the first track, My Old Ways, before the beat drops, I said, I'm scared. Like, where is this going? What is happening? Because in my head, I already had those feelings of, I'm reading all of this stuff. People just aren't happy in general with the album so far. So going to it, I was nervous, but then the beat came in and it was totally fine. I was waiting for that moment throughout the album with a lot of different tracks. And for the most part, that moment and a lot of the songs just did not happen for me personally. It sucks to say. It really does. I understand where a lot of people are coming from in the fact that the production is kind of lacking. I agree, and I'm not someone who listens to, I've seen mentions of techno kind of and house music, dance music. Aside from Kaytranada, if you consider him a dance artist, even though he leans a lot more into the R&B side of it, of like house and whatnot, I don't listen to a lot of EDM. I don't listen to a lot of techno, house, dance, which I really need to get into more house music, because the little bit of house music I've heard, I'm obsessed. But with that being said, I don't know the inner workings of production for those specific types of music so far. Even then, I kind of agree with everyone that's saying like the production just isn't hitting like the previous albums have. And again, coming off of the research that I did for my Currents video, I know how hard Kevin works on everything. So I feel bad for saying there are things that are lacking. There's some lyrics that don't quite hit the mark. On the upside to that, there are some bangers on the album still, which goes into my next point. I literally made a playlist that's called Deadbeat by Tame Impala, but it's just the songs that I like. And every single song on this playlist is favorited except for No Reply. So just going down the list, I have My Old Ways, No Reply, Dracula, Loser, Obsolete, Afterthought, and End of Summer. All of this totals to 31 minutes. That is 7 tracks out of the 56-minute album. And it's just the fact that I know that there are those other songs sitting on there that I really just can't vibe with at the moment. I listened to the album maybe 6 times now. I know the first day the album dropped, I did listen to it. My first 2 listens, I was not into it at all, to be quite honest with you. On first listen, singles aside, I did really like Obsolete and Afterthought off rip, because in all honesty, Obsolete to me sounds like something Pharrell would produce, if that makes sense. It's got that groove to it that just reminds me so much of Pharrell and the things that he used to do back in like the early 2000s. And then Afterthought is like this groovy, almost disco-y pop kind of feeling to it that's really reminiscent to me of the Slow Rush and Currents. So naturally I felt more attracted to both of those songs. Loser and End of Summer, automatically my first time hearing Loser, I love the song. End of Summer did take a while to grow on me, which is why I'm holding out hope that the rest of the album will grow on me, maybe. I don't know, because I'm kind of obsessed with End of Summer now. And listening to the album, that was my first time hearing Dracula. I completely see why people were like, oh, we're so back. Like, I completely get it. This might sound crazy, but if this song was really genuinely pushed, I'm talking All I Want for Christmas Is You, Mariah Carey pushed, this could be like one of the songs that's heavily played during Halloween, spooky season, one of my favorite holidays. This song has the potential to be a modern Halloween hit. It has that potential because Dracula is such a good song. It's so catchy. And it sounds really good live from the performances that I did watch so far. But yeah, I'm hoping the other songs will grow on me if I step outside of the playlist that I made to listen to the remainder of the album. It hurts me so bad that there's songs on the album that I just can't get with right now. I don't understand. Low-key, I was like, I'm kind of glad I don't have to worry about grabbing tickets to this tour, because I'm kind of okay with missing it. Now that we have good, decent performances out there for songs like Dracula, Loser, things like that are out there on the internet now, so I'm kind of fine with missing the tour, as bad as that sounds. I'm going through it. And I know that publications and content creators out there are posting their opinions and everything on the album, and people are on just everywhere talking about it. And while I'm not a huge fan of the entire thing so far, I will say that some of the criticisms have been a bit harsh, but at the same time, as long as they're not flat out mean, I understand where they're coming from. I think on my second listen, I gave the album like a 6 out of 10, and I don't like rating albums because, again, going back to that research that I've been doing for all of my making of the albums videos that I do, I know the amount of work that these artists put into these albums that they release. And I personally do not feel right rating an album on a scale or giving it stars other than me like favoriting songs in Apple Music. Even though I'm learning music production myself and I'm learning how to write my own songs and do that myself, I still don't have that experience firsthand to be like, well, I would change this and I would do this. And even if I did, I wouldn't sit here and dictate and tell someone how they should make their art. And me personally, I don't feel comfortable attaching a numeric system to someone's art. I can be honest and say I love something or I didn't love something, but I can't with like stars, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm good with the songs that I like from the album, and even though it's only 7 songs, I will still be hurt until like the next 5 or 6 years Kevin decides to release another album. And then I will also say, listening to the whole album in full and having End of Summer as the first single, that was a good move to give everybody kind of a feel for the direction that we're heading in. I do feel like this progression in terms of genre is very natural because Kevin did, that collaboration with Justice a while ago now. And so for this to be the direction makes a lot of sense. I don't know. This just makes me want to listen to Houdini again. And everything that he's done with Dua Lipa, because I miss that classic Tame Impala feel. People have been saying that Kevin probably should have released it under Kevin Parker instead of Tame Impala, and I understand that too. But the biggest thing that I probably agree with, given the title of the album and the album cover, if Kevin took the concept and the idea of a deadbeat dad, considering, like I said, the album cover, he could have went into a theme of fatherhood and what that feels like in his world, what that looks like to him, being an artist and making music and integrating him being a dad now into that world, and just playing around with that and trying to figure out that balance between the way that he makes his art and being there for his child. I think going into fatherhood and his perspective of being a parent would have been really nice, because he has a song about his dad on the Slow Rush. And so I think taking something like that and applying those feelings into Deadbeat and how things are for Kevin now as a dad would have really brought everything together in a little bit better of a way, I think. Then it's the fact that I saw a lot of the songs that people like that are kind of reminiscent of that older style from Kevin, the lyrics were written by someone else. So you can fact check me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I feel like I read that somewhere, maybe on Reddit or something. I also don't want to go into Kevin fell off and he got lazy, because again, his work ethic is, I'm going to obsess over this art that I'm making until I think it's absolutely perfect or close to it, or I have a deadline coming up and I need to get this out, you know? So I don't think he's gotten lazy, so to say. Things like lonerism and inner speaker, I think he got a little bit too far into, I don't want to repeat that again because that's too easy for me to make. And despite people being super into that sound, that's super simple for me at this point. I could make that in 2 seconds. I don't want to do that again. I think he got a little bit too far into that mindset, maybe. I don't know. Because it's like taking some of the feelings of those albums and applying it as you grow that's cool. That's okay to do. I'm feeling a lot of things towards this album, and I also don't want Kevin to feel like he can't revisit acid rock and, you know, the disco-y pop R&B kind of sound that he had going on with Currents. Like, I don't want him to feel like he can't go back to those sounds. And given the fact that his fans are the most into everything that he's worked on before and released before, it's kind of a funny position to be in now. And it's normal for him to switch up. Maybe if this genre that he's in now and the album had cooked for a little bit longer, it might have been a little bit better. Once something's out, it's out. And I'm curious to see if we get like a B-sides like we've gotten before with some of the albums, because I don't know, man. I'm kind of sad because I'm not obsessed with the entire album like I would love to be. But like I said before, I made the playlist. Should I necessarily have had to make a playlist? But I mean, it's there. If anything, I'm happy we got the singles, and I'm happy about Obsolete and Afterthought and My Old Ways. I think My Old Ways is a great album opener, by the way. Funny thing is, I also can't stop listening to the album in full. I think part of it is me wanting to kind of force myself to like the whole thing. And it's like, girl, it's okay. You do not have to like the entire album front to back. It's fine. I mean, Not My World is okay. You're Lost, See You on Monday gets stuck in my head a lot. I have gotten to the point where I have to listen to Loser a little bit less, as well as End of Summer, just because I've replayed those songs so many times. Now I'm like, yo, slow down. I literally didn't write any notes or anything like to make a review or anything. I just wanted to get a video out there because I personally don't feel like the album as a whole sucks completely, but that's just me. I don't think the album is hot doo-doo stinky poo-poo garbage bag material. I don't think that, but I know for sure that there are better albums by Tame Impala out there. I listened to Inner Speaker earlier today and I miss that energy. I miss that explosiveness, that breath of fresh air. It's very inviting, that album, and it's very, like I said, energetic, very colorful, very in your face, but in a good way. It's just, it had so much going on to it. The instruments felt lively. Deadbeat just feels like there are good things there, but as a whole, I can understand why the album is kind of pulling the reaction that it is getting. And it makes me sad, but it's fine. I keep going back to that damn playlist that I had to make, so at least I have that. What are your thoughts on the album? Because I'm just curious to know, like, what are your thoughts on the album? Do you think that it sucks? I want to know, genuinely. Let me know what your favorite songs from the album are as well. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, check out my current video, check out all my other videos, and I will talk to all of you soon. Bye.